I'd like to introduce my good friend, BriGette McCoy.
Hey.
Hi, honey. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So what's up with social justice for women veterans? What's the latest going on with that?
Well, the latest that's happening with women veterans social justice is I'm working on a service project with a university connecting the advocates, community advocates through a digital, just basically giving a digital narrative of people who are working in the community for veterans. I've also started a meetup group in Atlanta so that we can connect more women veteran in the local market. So doing a lot of projects. I'm doing a CD, working on some music to bring awareness for military sexual trauma. So there's just so many different things that are going on in the community.
And let's talk a little bit about MST, because that's how I actually met you. Tell me what happened to you in your military career.
Basically, I was sexually harassed and raped in the military, and when I reported the sexual harassment, not the rapes, I was within a 90-day period of time, I was exited out of the military. I basically was requested to sign over my military career and exit out of the military. And it was so hush-hush. I didn't have time to transition. I just pretty much left and had to start all over. And that caused me to not even really, report that I was a veteran.
Because I've known you for a while and I know your backstory. I know that you were homeless.
Yeah, I experienced homelessness for off and on for a number of years.
With children?
With children, yes.
So there's tell me how you were able to overcome that, because that's really a sad fact of what's happening with women veterans.
Well, a couple of different ways. I actually went through programs that weren't veteran-oriented programs. They were just community organizations that did programs for people who had, for affordable housing. And so there was an organization called Homestretch in Atlanta, and I went through that program for about 2 years. And then I left the program, ended up homeless again, and went through HUD-VASH program. And up until last year, I was in that program trying to get a house and all of that. So
because once again, it goes back to people don't know what's available.
Yes.
And you can't apply for it
if you don't know. But I always tell women veterans to at least sit down with their medical records, because a lot of times we've forgotten that we went to the doctor a dozen times for upper respiratory, or we went to the doctor for stomach pains, and they did laparoscopy, and now and so that you have a scar from some surgery. All of those things, if they happen to you in the military, those are things that need to be looked at, because there are some residual effects to them. So it's just best to sit down with a VSO, let them go through your medical records that you've ordered and looked at yourself, and then just figure it out that way. I just think that it's very important, because I focus on it from a different perspective. I look at it from a financial perspective. Usually women live longer, we have a lower, disposable income, and when you start looking at it from a perspective of how that affects us on the long run, 20 years of me receiving 30 or 40% disability would have probably helped me when I was going through my issues with homelessness.
Flip that back to when you got out, because you didn't know what was available to you and the time that you wasted not knowing.
Well, I applied for my benefits, and they just basically, I didn't know to keep fighting. And that was the problem.
Yes.
They said, oh yeah, that's a problem. You're service connected for that, but they felt like I was healthy enough that it wasn't imposing, causing any residual effect. And that's their verbiage. So, I just said, okay, I don't have time for this. I need to get a job. I need to get in school. And I did those things. I went to school and I got a job and, got involved in my community.
Did they retroactive you to your initial
So I did a lot of things
claim?
That people say don't do. And I just have to be really honest. When I started my claim, I initially applied for non-service connected pension. Because again, I was homeless. I needed money.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I was not, just sitting at home waiting on a check.
And that non-service pension is a relatively new program that's kind of underserved, and that one only pays about...
it's about $1,200 a month, something of that nature. So for those four years, I was receiving that non-service connected. Now, what people told me was, if you do that, you'll never get service connected for it. And I was like, I'm going to have to figure it out once I get to that, because I need to have income to pay rent, to have a place to stay. So I went that route. I went through the non-service connected, and they paid me the pension part of it. And so when I did finally get approved for the service connected, I wasn't individual unemployable. So it just kind of balanced out initially. So I didn't owe any money. They didn't owe me any money.
Okay, very good.
So then when I applied for individual employability, I'm still waiting for, I'm actually applying to go back to 92.
Now, I know why you started Women Veterans Social Justice, because, you know, we're trying to make more women veterans aware of their benefits. One of the things I really like that you do is the way you keep up your social media, because you are really good at that Facebook stuff.
The goal has always been, again, to connect veteran women together and connect veteran women to the community at large. So any resources that are out there, and I don't typically post just everything that everybody else posts. I post jobs, I post things about, you know, meditation and therapeutic, you know, different therapeutic modalities. I could be posting about suicide prevention. So anything to me that touches a veteran woman is something that I'm going to post about. I posted a while back about veterans losing their children of their post-traumatic stress diagnoses. And, you know, when I first talked about this about 2 years ago, people were like, oh, you're just, why do you even bring stuff up like that? It doesn't happen. And now that it's happening to combat veteran men, it's getting some more, you know, some more media. But it's been happening to women veteran.
A little bit more about that, because if a veteran, man or woman, is diagnosed with PTSD, they could potentially lose the custody rights of their children.
It's not always just someone losing it to their family members, though that happens. Through a spouse, through divorce, though that happens. I have knowledge of some incidences where someone was had to be hospitalized for their post-traumatic stress, and their children didn't have a place to go, and they ended up in foster care. And the long process of that is that once they ended up in foster care, someone wanted to adopt them, and so then that became another process. So there's a lot of different reasons. Jail. We have some women who've ended up in jail and lost their children. So there's a plethora of reasons why it's not just one standard.
And it all comes back to, as the veteran is transitioning out of the military into the civilian world, that they really need to educate themselves on what's available. Know your benefits, educate yourself, utilize the resources that are available in your community.
Well, the challenge with women veterans is, one, the system wasn't necessarily created for us. And so getting those systems adjusted so that it's more desirable for us to go into them, and they know what to do with us when we get there. They're also doing chiropractic care now. And so these things are through people going and signing those surveys that we hate to do, but we need to do. And this is another part of what Women Veterans Social Justice does, is get people to be community advocates, just like what you did. But as a community, we are the veteran. We are the community. We should be helping one another. Even though we can't physically give each other the services, we can tell each other about what's going on in the community. That's something very simple that we can do.
And that's exactly what we're doing this week at the Women Veterans Leadership Conference here in San Diego.
And social media is huge because it crosses all quadrants. It doesn't matter. When you're on social media, you can reach across, you know, the party lines and really affect change, because there are some people that have no idea what other people are going through. There are some strong community business leaders who are making six figures, who are veterans. They have no idea the struggles of people who are, like I said, losing their children. And I want to make sure I bring that right to their front door and say, here it is. And so social media does that. I mean, it just breaks down a lot of barriers, and it's very quick, it's very efficient.
What I like about the way you manipulate the social media is that you're absolutely right in what you just said. You can be anywhere and do it. It's the empowerment that we're after.
Yes.
It's women veterans. You are not alone.
Right.
There are people, there are agencies that want to help you.
They've done studies that building a community, a social community, is very therapeutic. And so you know, I'm hitting it at all angles. I'm absolutely, we're doing it online, we're doing it in the community, we're getting the healing part, we're doing the art. And if you don't like what I'm doing, hey, here's some other organizations that I'm, you know, collaborating with. They'd love to support what you're doing, you know, what you want to do.
And that really is the key. If one thing doesn't work, something else does.
Yes.
So best piece of advice you could offer a woman veteran getting out of the service right now, what would that be?
Get connected to your veteran sisters. I say this all the time. If you once you raised your hand to go in, you were destined to become a veteran woman. You're destined to it. It's something that you cannot erase. And if women going in the military and women that are coming out of the military understand that, it'll be a much better transition. Because you connect to your veteran community immediately.
And that's the key. Don't live an isolated life. Please and
don't.
Get involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, my dear.